Big LEZ'S League, an all rugby league experience.
Hello, welcome back to Big LEZ'S League and all rugby league experience. We're going to be going through our origin sides after round 11, after Magic Round. What a Magic Round we had. A great week for Supercoach, a great week for fantasy. We're on a bit of a high at the moment and obviously very keen for origin. It's our favourite time of the year and look, very keen to go through these sides yet again this week. A few changes with a few injuries, definitely for New South Wales, but also for Queensland, a massive, massive injury is Cam Munster. Now, who is going to come in and fill that six? For some of you, might be a bit of an obvious answer. For others, we could have a few smokies potentially in line for that jersey as well. But let's talk about New South Wales first. I've still got Dylan Edwards at fullback over James Tedesco. Yes, the age-old argument is they're the same player. They do the same thing. They're great with support play. They pretty much play two very similar roles. But Dylan Edwards has been in incredible form all year long. He's been very consistent. And, just looking at his stats from the weekend, this isn't a bad game from Dylan Edwards or a quiet game from Dylan Edwards on the weekend against the Warriors. 20 runs. He had 149 metres, 26 post contact, had a line break assist, a try assist, 6 tackle busts. He's still doing a lot of work, only missed 2 tackles there at the back at fullback. Thought he was great. And again, a guy that's very involved, obviously when they spread the ball, very involved in their spreading sets. Great support lines as well in this game. He obviously was heavily involved still. For him to have a bad game and still rock up these type of numbers, it makes me very confident going into the Origin series. I would still have Dylan Edwards in there over James Tedesco. That's just my personal opinion. But yeah, look, I can see a lot of people going down the way of James Tedesco. And, if James Tedesco does get picked next week, by the time, this time next week, I should say, when the podcast comes out, I won't be shocked or surprised at all. I think that he deserves to be there, James Tedesco. He's been great this season. They've both been fighting head-to-head, Edwards and Tedesco, for that spot. For me, though, I've just got Edwards a little bit ahead, and especially when you're trying to pick a different team than previous years, if you're picking off form, Dylan Edwards has been in the better form statistically for the past few rounds. In terms of some other changes, obviously Bradman Best, we've heard that he's officially out of Origin, at least for the first 2 games with a hamstring injury. So I've got Jesse Ramian filling in. It sort of restructures my back line a little bit. I've got Ramian moving over to the right edge with Zach Lomax. I've got Stephen Crichton and Brian To'o on the left. I've still got Matt Burton and Nico Hines in the halves. That hasn't changed. In terms of the front row, Payne Haas, Stefano Utsikamanu comes into my starting front row. Jake Trbojevic, I don't have him in there anymore. We talk about what can Jake Trbojevic bring to the sort of pack that we want. We want a lot more mobile pack through the middle. A bit of a younger, more mobile pack is what I'm sort of aiming for. And when you have Gerbo coming in that does play quite big minutes, he is very good defensively, but when they're trying to get a run on through the middle, he doesn't have a lot of impact when running the ball. And at the end of the day, Stefano Utsikamanu, he's been in some pretty decent form over the past 2 weeks. There's obviously been a lot of chat around him. Will he make the Origin side? I think he could do a really good job with Payne Haas just starting the game with impact, especially after watching him last week. It gives me a lot of confidence that he can do a good job in Origin. And I think a young mobile pack up front to start a game with a lot of strength and X factor in Payne Haas and Stefano Utsikamanu. They've both got offloads in them. They can get into that second phase play quite easily, around a hooker like Abby Coruscant as well. I think it's just much better for how I'm structuring my team. Abby Coruscant is still the 9. Again, he is quote unquote suffering from a back injury at the moment. And, there has been a bit of speculation about that, but he's looked great over the past few weeks. I haven't really detected that he's been struggling out there on the field, but, obviously the reports are that he is battling this back injury. We will have to wait until the last minute until we know, how severe this is. And, it doesn't look too severe at the moment. I think that he'll still be there. I think that he's pretty much recovered from that now. I don't think there's too much concern. Angus Crichton and Hamoli Olakau'atu in the back row. Angus Crichton's been unreal. He's still there. Hamoli Olakau'atu, still my number 12. 13, I was going to make a change here. I was going to go and put Cam McInnes, in that 13 jersey and move Isaiah Yeo to the bench. You think back to game 3 last year, Yowie came off the bench. He played more of a running role, still picking his moments, when to run, when to pass really well. And I think that's really had an influence on his career at the moment, where we're seeing that he does have that really solid decision-making on when to run and when to pass the ball. But yeah, I've still got him starting at 13. I've got Cam McInnes in that 14 jersey now. Obviously, Connor Watson is going to be out for Origin, or at least, again, games 1 or 2 with a throat injury. He's going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, I think it was, or maybe even 3 to 4 weeks. I think it might be a little bit of a shorter recovery time, which would be good. But yeah, he's going to be out for at least game 1, maybe game 2. I've got Cam McInnes in there, and obviously Cam McInnes has been highly rumoured to be in this side. He's a competitor. You can bring him on to play a bit of roaming lock forward. You can also move him into the hooker position, obviously, if Abby Coruscant needs to come out of there. Abby Coruscant can play long minutes, but I think having a guy like Cam McInnes who can slot into that 9 role, do a quality job, it's a good thing. The only thing that concerns me a little bit is the fact that Cam McInnes, he doesn't offer as much as what a Connor Watson does. We picked Connor Watson in that 14 jersey over Cam McInnes simply because of the fact that he can play multiple positions. He can do a lot more for you. He's younger. He's more mobile. Whereas Cam McInnes, obviously aged forward, not as mobile, can only cover really hooker and lock, maybe back row. But other than that, that's about it. Cam McInnes, I think, will do a great job in Origin. Don't get me wrong about that. But I probably would have rathered having a Connor Watson in there at 14. Unfortunately, he's out, so Cam McInnes does come in, and again, highly rumoured to be in this side. So it looks like he'll get the jersey anyway. Mitch Barnett is still my number 15. Liam Martin still my number 16. Number 17, Terrell May. Now, some smokies that I've picked out for the Blues that I think could be in and around discussions. Before he got injured on the weekend, I wrote down Tyson Frizzell, but it looks like he might have a bit of an injury going into this weekend. I need to double check the team list because the team list haven't come out when we've been recording this. Hudson Young, I think that he's definitely a smoky now. He's been great all year. He's a guy that's sort of flown under the radar for me. We talk about Amoli Olakawatu, Keon Koloamatangi. We talk about Angus Crichton too, who's recently shot up to form. We talk about all these other back rowers that are eligible for this spot. Hudson Young has flown under the radar quite a bit. So he's definitely a smoky now. It depends on how Liam Martin, Terrell May, Mitch Barnett all play on the weekend as to whether he can fit him into this side, maybe on the bench. Obviously, the sides do get picked next week, next Monday, I believe. So obviously, we won't be putting a podcast like this out. We'll obviously be more so reacting to the teams that have been named. Another smoky, Tony Staggs, Will Penasini. Penasini didn't have the performance that I thought he was going to have on the weekend. Tony Staggs, he still looked quite good. I think that Ramian and Stephen Crichton will be the centers at the moment. Then you go and look at some of the forwards. You got Blake Brayley, Jacob Saifidi, I think is definitely a bit of a smoky. Tommy Hazelton, after the season that he's had, he has come out of nowhere, and he is in discussions now. Experts are putting him in their team, so he'll be definitely one to watch over the weekend. Maybe a bit of a smoky there for Madge Maguire. Jacob Saifidi, though, he's been there, done that before. If he gets named in the squad, I will not be surprised. Isaiah Katoa as well. Yes, it's his second year, but maybe even just to blood him in the squad. We've seen a number of players, do this as well for Queensland. Reece Walsh being one of them. I believe that Sam Walker might have been in the squad or was going to be in the squad one year. You also had Tom Dearden, who's been in the squad for a number of years now, obviously come in when there's injury and will be coming in this year. But they've done it with a number of players now. Maybe Katoa does get, to come in and be a part of the squad and sort of get blooded into a potential future half for New South Wales as well, because the talent that he has, I think, is so underrated. People forget 2 weeks ago he was third on the Dally M rankings. So he's in some great form at the moment. He's showing a lot of maturity for his age, and I really do think, as in terms of how the squad goes, in terms of blooding players for the future, he might be there. He might be there, Isaiah Katoa. Let's move on now to Queensland. Reece Walsh, still my fullback, obviously. Selwyn Cobbo, Xavier Coates, on the wings for me. I think that both of these guys get picked. Xavier Coates, after the weekend that he had, he's locked in for me now. Valentine Holmes, Hamaso Tabuai-Fidow, locked in. Hammer looks like he's fully recovered from that hammy injury. Knock on wood. He's fully recovered from that hammy injury. Tom Dearden, I think, comes in now with Cam Munster out of the side. I think Tom Dearden is the next man up. I think it's the obvious option. I do think, though, that it isn't locked in. I feel like if Sam Walker comes out and has a huge weekend, I feel like even if Ezra Mam comes out and has a huge weekend, both of these guys could be a part of the squad for Queensland. I reckon that both of these guys could be a smoky for the number 6 as well. It really does depend on who plays the best in this coming weekend, this coming round, as to who gets that jersey, the number 6 jersey for Queensland. But for me, Tom Dearden at the moment is my number 6. DCE is my number 7. DCE, he obviously is locked in every year. I don't think you can really argue that one. Ruben Cotter Collins still in the front row. Ben Hunt is still my 9. Nanai, Dave Fafita still in the back row for me. Paddy Carrigan still at 13. There has been a change to my bench. We still have Harry Grant, Jaden Sewer, Mo Fodawaker. But now in number 17, we have made a bit of a change here. We are going down the route of Jermaine Hopgood. Now, we did have Kurt Mann in there at the back end of last week. We did obviously have Tom Flegler in the side too last week, but obviously he got injured. We had to make a change. Kurt Mann was sort of the guy that I went for. But I am going to go with Jermaine Hopgood after the weekend that he had. The potential that he has is still a small, more mobile body. If there's an injury, he can come into 9 as well and play a bit of a 1-2 punch with either Harry Grant or Ben Hunt, depending on who gets injured. He can fill in the back row, front row, lock forward. He can fill in pretty much every position in the forwards. I think that Jermaine Hopgood's a really handy guy to have in jersey number 17. You can say the same for Kurt Mann, and Kurt Mann can fill more positions, but I feel like if we're going off form, I think Jermaine Hopgood gets the jersey. I really do. And I think he'll handle himself a lot better in that middle sort of role than what Kurt Mann will in Origin. And I feel like he's going to be taking contact a lot better than what Kurt Mann would in the middle in Origin football. So Jermaine Hopgood for me is my number 17. Now, Smokies, as far as Smokies go for the Maroons, we have got Corey Jensen from the Brisbane Broncos. I feel like after the week that he had, after the form that he's been in pretty much all season, he's been very consistent. I really like Corey Jensen as a bit of a smoky for number 17. If you're looking for another front row forward, we had Tom Flegler, only a few weeks ago in the jersey number 17 for the Maroons. So if you want to go for another front row forward to come off the bench with Mo Fodawaker, you can obviously go for Corey Jensen there in jersey number 17. Xavier Savage for me has sort of popped up as a little bit of a smoky. He's been in some pretty decent form. I don't think he'll make the side this year, but maybe a little bit of a smoky for the squad. And then, I wouldn't say smoky for the squad. I think he'll be in the squad. But Murray Taulagi obviously has come back from injury just recently and has been in some pretty decent nick and looks really, really strong in contact. He played a bit of centre and wing, I believe, on the weekend due to a bit of injury in the back line. Just looked really, really good. And he's been there and done that before, Murray Taulagi. He looks like, he could handle himself again. Just coming back from injury is a little bit concerning, but I think that he'll be right. I think that he'll be okay, himself or Xavier Coates. If either of them are in that number 5 jersey, again, it wouldn't shock me because both of these guys, we know the ceiling that they have. We know how good they can be. There you go. Those are my Origin 17s before the sides get selected next week. Let me know what you would change. Let me know if there's any smokies that you can think of as well that we haven't got here on our list. Make sure to go ahead and check out the BCFU show, They Don't Want It. It's going to come out today as well. So make sure you get straight into that on my YouTube. We'll be posting it out in bits, but obviously on the BCFU YouTube, I should say. Obviously, it'll be on there as well in the full version. We also have great content coming out with Renee Gartner, Darcy Lussick, and Rennie Matua. Renee Gartner, Rennie Matua interviewing John Sutton. That's going to come out next week as well. Super exciting stuff. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube. You subscribe to the BCFU YouTube, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Phew.